live now. Welcome to the Clerk of Criminal District Court's 2024 to 2028 Capital Improvement Plan public hearing. This is the beginning of our annual 5-year capital planning process, where we meet with every department and agency in the city that requests capital funding for the 5-year period. These meetings give visibility to the department and agencies' vision for the next 5 years and what type of investments they're proposing for the facilities to assist with their operations. Again, we're streaming on Facebook this year to try to provide more public access, so people don't necessarily need to come to City Hall to know what you all are requesting. But this is a public meeting, and we might have the public attend. What we'll ask you to do to get us started is to go through your request. If you could, project by project, give us a brief description of each, the needs for them, and to discuss a little bit in general how these were prioritized in order to kind of accomplish your goals over the next 5 years. And if we could, just go around the table to go around with introductions. I'm Larry Massey, the Deputy Director with City Planning Commission.
Rachel Berg, Planning Administrator, City Planning Commission.
Vince Smith, Director of Capital Projects.
Otherwise, Project Manager, Capital Projects.
Darren Lumbaugh, Clerk of Criminal District Court.
Elise Gray, Program Manager, Clerk of Criminal Court.
So, as we've done in the past, we're here requesting assistance and with help with the building that we're in, which is the old Parish prison. Where we had staff for a couple of our offices, plus we store a good bit of our documentation there. So, especially as of late, we've had several pretty big issues come up with heating and cooling. Last year we had an issue, or was it earlier this year with the plumbing?
Earlier this year and last year.
Yeah, it started I think at the end of last year, and it's progressively going on and on through this year. We've had plumbing issues, and now we're back again this year on the roofing issues and the window leakage that we have in some of the areas where we store stuff. But we can give you more detail on that. That's what we did basically for today.
So, the first project that we were looking at was getting the roof replaced at the former OPP. The reason we need this done is because when the roof is leaking, it damages all floors down. And because we have not only private material that's there, personal things that's there, as far as what the clerk will, what the court will need to operate, we also have staff that's there. So it's not only damaging the building, it's damaging different things that we need to operate. So if we don't have that done, all of the rest of the projects that we're asking for, it won't make sense to have it done because it's just going to damage everything else. So that's one of the main things that we're asking for. We asked for this prior, and it's just every time it rains, it's raining in the building. It's not only affecting the walls and the ceilings and everything, it's affecting the alarm system. The alarms go off each and every time it rains because what happens is that the sprinklers are coming on. So we have firemen coming out and engineers are just like, it's really done.
Yeah.
So that's for our first project.
Question: have you guys, been communicating with property management? Have they attempted to make any kind of spot repairs to the roof?
Always. Property management is basically an extension of my division. I deal with infrastructure, as far as like building, IT, all of those different issues. they have become just the second hand with us because they're there almost every day.
Mhm.
They're trying to repair all of the leakages in the window, caulking things, doing things above, below, if they can come in and like try to cover things up so that things won't get damaged, they're there doing that as well.
Yeah.
But it's just so extensive to the point of it's beyond them.
Mhm.
And their director also came out and he witnessed everything, and it's truly beyond them. We also have areas where the water is not just coming down, it's coming up by flooding through the building. So it comes both ways. It comes through the bottom, it comes through the windows, and it comes through the ceiling. So
When you say it's coming through the bottom, I mean, is it coming through the drains? You know, is it some kind of backup? Or?
yes.
So because the plumbing is an issue, they basically kind of gave up on some of it because they're telling us that it's too expensive to repair. So whenever there's flooding, it has nowhere to go temporarily. So it fills up areas it shouldn't that would normally drain off.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem. So we're catching leakage from the top and we're having water that's protruding from beneath the bottom floors.
Did they mention whether that was the roof drain backing up specifically? I'm wondering, because we just heard that, and this has happened at that site before, that the old terracotta pipes under the ground crushed.
Yeah.
And that's what, if it's not causing subsidence, it's backing up.
Yeah. I mean, I wondered if they videoed the lines to see if they could identify.
They've gone out, they've sent different plumbers out, contractors, they've done different things, and in particular, one spot that when it floods, you know, it floods in throughout the city.
Yeah.
So when it goes into this spot, sewer and everything comes up through this.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kind of close that off. And moving people, you know, we can't move people that much because we don't have anywhere to move them. When we look at, we did mention things with the old Parish prison, but we don't have any space within the criminal court hall. In the criminal court, there is space, but it's being used for storage, not our storage, but there's some perfect office space that we may be able to use within the criminal court to move our employees out of OPP to move them into criminal court. But when we're looking at OPP is just really one problem after the next.
Okay.
So if we move on to the renovation to the third and fourth floor.
Hold on a second.
Okay, you want to stay on that? Okay,
Yeah.
you can. Okay.
Where'd you get the number from for the roof replacement?
Ms. L.
We built on a number from last year.
Okay.
And probably the year previous as well.
Okay.
But
So you
it
just,
has that high inflation built into it.
okay. And then I'm noticing you've got it plugged into 2025, and you've got it design build separation, but you put that in 2025. Let's say the design instead of 2024. You might want to shift that over, move that to 2024, shift it over.
To make it closer. Okay.
Okay. Okay. That's all I got.
Okay. Anything else on the roof? When we're looking at the renovation of the third and fourth floor above ground in the Parish prison, we are completely out of space again. Like we were stating, we're out of space for records, we're out of space for property, we're out of space for people. Those floors were previously housed prisoners.
Right.
It needs to be completely renovated, and so we're just looking at if we can have that space to be able to house our employees and also the different things that come through on a daily basis because we are out of space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just based on the number of things that come through, and especially if you look at the numbers with what's going on within the city, we have a lot of things that we have to keep for a lifetime. And because we have to keep that for a lifetime, that's what's making
continuing growth of space. were just talking about on the way here, we have 145 cases that we've received in the last couple of days. We're running out of space on it. And as you know, evidence is not just a gun, a knife, or bullets. It could be a refrigerator, it could be wheels and tires, it could be a car. Well, now we don't.
But it's
Or car parts.
yeah.
Let's say a car parts. It could be, you know, a desk. It could be
The
office
entire
furniture.
house.
It could be a ton of different things. And most people, when they think about it, they think about space for evidence. In the case of evidence, it's something small, like stolen items that are shoplifted. But it involves a lot more than that. So we literally, it's an ongoing thing for space. And for firearms, even for paperwork, documentation, all of that stuff we have to store somewhere, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's a constant battle to try to figure out where do we put something next. And we literally have stuff that is stored to capacity, and I think it's going to be a problem soon, not just for losing space, but how we store it. And then on top of that, we have challenges with leakage, which, I'm sure we're all aware how humidity can affect anything, whether it be a cell phone, or paperwork, or some metal object. All of this stuff is affected by the leakage problem in humidity. So that's something we're keenly aware of that can be a huge problem down the line.
And so the leaking roof that we were discussing in request one, that affects these two floors as well. So that would need to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
And
So these floors that we're looking at, they're old. Some of it is old office space from the sheriff's office when we used to use it. So it's kind of workable space. The cells, however, that's what we're gonna have to use for storage. So what's the fourth?
The fourth floor, yeah.
I think the fourth floor is the one with the best usable space as far as the offices are concerned, because this was a new office at some point. It needs some cleanup work, to put it mildly. I believe the AC and the heat are functional. They just need a little tune-up work. But it also is going to have issues with the roof as well.
Now, if my memory serves me, when we did the previous renovations, for lack of a better, that we did to get you guys over there on the third floor, it wasn't a full-blown renovation. It was almost like a cleanup.
Well, let me say something to get it straight. You probably have this in the back of your mind, but we just came in last year.
Right, and I'm just saying that to say, are you asking for? No, I'm not. I'm not ready to shoot you or anything like that.
No.
I guess I'm just trying to get a clarification on the
So we kind
scale
of
of renovation you're
right.
wanting.
Because
we didn't do a full-blown renovation when we moved Mr. Morrell over. We just kind of did a cleanup.
Yes.
The
So it was temporary.
Yeah.
I believe initially it was supposed to be a temporary situation, but then that turned.
No, it was permanent. He always
The suggestion was made that it be a temporary measure, and then it morphed into a permanent measure, and the building's 100 years old.
Right.
So,
So that's an issue, and I don't know the feasibility of repairing everything versus finding something or building a new building. I can't get into all that because that's not my wheelhouse, but
you
seemed
need
on the surface to be
right.
just a quick fix.
Yeah.
That was maybe supposed to last a couple of years or so, until initially, from what I understand, that we were supposed to get a second floor in the new building that's right next to the jail. Something happened with the previous administration where that went away, and now we're stuck with legal action. Now, I don't know if you're aware of it, but we're stuck with some legal action that is winding down, from what I understand. And now we just have one floor over there, but it's still nowhere near what we need.
Well, no, that is not my recollection of
That's
the
the
events.
story, it kept morphing.
Yeah, no, what? It was always intended to give the clerk one floor of the new building. Now, the strategy and the thought was, we're giving you a floor, but we're putting in your high density filing system, or which would in essence give you more space. So, and I'm going to ask you how you guys are coming along with, where you're at with moving into the new space and how that's going. But okay, so you got that one floor, and once again, as far as I can recall, the turning over that half of the third floor of OPP. I think you guys have some areas on the first floor and the main floor as well. That was, clerk asked for it, and we gave it to him. That was, he didn't ask, well, let me get in here until I get something else. He asked for it, we gave it to him. He's been asking for more of the space to be built out, but as you mentioned, there were some, issues with previous administration that kind of frustrated a lot of those conversations.
Yes.
And it just didn't move.
Now, just for clarity, because I've looked at some legal documentation that's in process with regard to that bill.
Okay.
It has always been the contention of the previous clerk that there was supposed to be 2 floors, until some conversations went in a different direction. Now, it has always been, from what I'm told, and understanding that was going to happen. When that didn't happen, there was going to be a request for more work to be done at the old parish. So that's,
Yeah, and that's behind us.
Right.
So
I won't say it's neither here nor there right now.
Yeah, but you got to
right.
Yeah, we've got to figure out how to solve your space problems.
So and the way we're speaking of it today, I can't put it in terms enough to make it clear enough of how serious the situation is. And I invite you guys over, as we've had some guests last week and this tomorrow, and I think next week we're gonna have some city council members come over as well. That when you're looking at the situation, it's different when we're talking about it. I invite you guys to come over. I'm hoping you take me up on the invitation.
Yeah, no, we got to get together. We tried a couple of times and we missed. So, but yeah, that's definitely.
So it's a tricky situation because there's space in the building, in the courthouse, that we can use. However, we're a competing faction within the courthouse about that space, and we are of the mindset that it's more valuable to us because we can not only pull our staff out of that environment they're in, we can also put things back into the building where they probably shouldn't have been. That's just me speaking. And that was the clerk's assertion as well, the former clerk's assertion as well, is that he basically, for whatever reason, got moved out of the building or partially moved out of the building.
Yeah, no, look,
and I've heard about those.
You have inherited
those debates.
You have inherited a very difficult
I'm glad, look, it's glad to hear somebody from outside acknowledge that.
No, look,
Who
once
has
again,
not
I've
seen it
been
yet.
indirectly involved in a lot of those conversations.
So let me
and
ask you this, were you a part of the previous administration?
Yes.
So you, I'm
Yeah,
sure you
I
heard
know
about those
about-
conversations.
Right, I've been, you know,
Witness.
directly involved in some, indirectly involved in others.
Mhm.
And, so, you know, I understand, understand your need, understand the dynamics, you know,
So how soon can I get you?
Tomorrow.
Can we get you
You
over
have
tomorrow?
tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
no, once again, we definitely have to get together, and I'll shoot you a couple of dates and times that we can coordinate getting together. But, you know, I think we need to look into some, hazard mitigation funding, with your roof, that's, and the exterior. That's an opportunity for us to get some FEMA funding. So we definitely need to explore that.
Mhm.
How are you coming along with moving into the new building? Where are you guys at now?
We had some, well, because of the plumbing issue, initially, 2 other offices were supposed to be moved into the new building. Because of the plumbing issue and how hazardous that was, we had to put off those plans and move for property and evidence over there.
Okay.
Which, in the end, may be a better deal for us if we house them over there completely at some point. But it's kind of like a temporary band-aid that we're using part of that space for housing staff and storing stuff. So
Did you get the high density storage put in?
Yeah.
So that's
we
it.
have that in, but, yeah, we just have another part, we need different parts to go on, so that we can have that moving as well as the newer ones that we have.
Yeah.
Is evidence currently going into that high density system or not yet? It is.
yeah,
And about where, like 20%?
That's a good estimate. That's a good estimate. We hadn't completely pushed that issue of putting everything over there because it was supposed to be a temporary thing. But now, due to how we don't have space in OPP,
Now, what was temporary?
closed records was supposed to go over there.
we were supposed to put closed records and record processing over there.
Yeah.
But because of the plumbing issue, which backed up
They
into their
switched
offices,
content.
We
we
didn't have
we
it.
flipped and put another, a less at-risk office.
Understand.
We left them where they were and we prioritized property and evidence, which we've had problems with the building, plumbing problems.
Now, this is
In the
new
new
building,
building.
or
Yes,
what kind of plumb, same issue?
not the same issue. No, it's from what I understand, and I'll let her.
Well, we've had roofing issues.
Mhm.
It's rained through the windows. It has rained, the roof has leaked. But the plumbing issue we had was something of the sort where it was extremely smelly on our floor, and then we found out that a certain tube that's supposed to flush wasn't working, and so they had to get that working because it was like a drainage tube. So every time things just, you went to the restroom or poured anything in the drain, it sit there. They didn't have anything to push it out. So you just had the smell that was there, and they could not find what was wrong. So that's one issue, one of the main issues we had. It was.
Has that been resolved?
It has been resolved. We just had a leak in the roof, I think, this week. And we have many, things that are bullets that we have given, and Jerry has worked with us greatly.
Yeah.
But, the contractors have to come out and still finish many things within the building that have not been resolved.
So they're still in the warranty.
Yeah.
Correction period, it sounds like.
Well, hopefully. Can you send me the list?
Yeah, we can send it to you. So I'm not sure if we're still in that correction period because they told us to send that before it was up.
Regardless, this is just a general comment. regardless of whether they're in that period or not, they have not finished work. They are
Still obligated.
duty bound and obligated to. It's not, they can get out of there within a certain period. If it was in the contract, they owe it, right? They were paid for it, and they owe it. So, we'll get the warranty, the value of the warranty correction, law, or the warranty log is to show when it was reported.
Yes.
And hopefully resolved, but mostly to go on record, right?
Correct.
And so if the correction had not been found within that period, that's when they wanted you, to list it. It's always easiest if it's on there, but there's still exceptions to, nobody's scot-free.
Because we have many other things. The architect actually came out and she was just, along with us saying, this is backwards. Why was this done this way? Why is this still falling? So we had all of those things, and that's still on the list.
Please send all of that to me.
That's 15 months, because substantial completion, I believe, was in April of last year, if I'm not mistaken.
And we're still.
And
So
our
that's
new
fine.
building, are we talking about the crime lab?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Same building, yeah, it's multi-agency.
And, I had a question about the renovation of these floors for record storage. And if you were to project out, I guess, at your current volume of receiving documents, how long that would be the last year,
That's all to say. We're basing that on the level of crime. So if for some reason we get a situation where the crime drops dramatically, then that extends that time. So I think probably no one anticipated the value that we have in the last few years, particularly based on coming out of COVID when things were probably way less of what they are now. And then, then we have a spike. So, again, just like we were saying, talking on will be 140, 150 cases in a few days. You can't anticipate things like that. So, what we'll do is we'll contact some other jurisdictions to see if they've done such a estimate, or if they do that, to see if there's a way to reasonably come about a figure that would give us at least a guideline to what could be done the road.
Like best practices towards
Right.
projection.
Exactly.
Do you guys have, I know it's been, quite some time, but I can recall coming over to the courthouse and, going up into the upper floors, the areas where you guys have evidence, and there was a chalkboard. I guess it was used during the Roaring '20s or something.
Right.
It was quite a museum. And I know there is some kind of process and protocol that you have to go through to dispose evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's been a while. There were some conversations about, at the time, Mr. Morrell, getting with, it was Judge Buras, who was the head of the judges.
Building.
Yeah, and so that they could start working on.
There was a grant for scanning at one point.
Yeah,
that was back in mid 2007-ish.
There was a later one, I don't know when it was applied for, but in the time I've been here, I know they were getting started with scanning what they could. Some have to be retained.
Yeah, that's our that's one of our priorities, is find out what the schedule is on that, the retention schedule, on everything, the evidence, probably evidence, and on records. And we're going to be asking for funds to help us get that scanning program back up, because whatever we can scan, and then rely on the scan versus the hard copies, we may be able to slow this thing down a little bit if they allow us, tighter retention schedule or something like that. I mean, it just depends. So we're in the midst of that. But
Even if, you know, we slow everything down, we still need to move our employees. So that's one of the priorities that we're looking at, is moving employees out of that area. And I know that, you know, some things, like you said, with the past administration, it may have been yes or no, it's temporary, it's not. But, from the looks of how everything was done, and as far as like build outs and, some of the renovations that was done, it looks to be very temporary because everything's falling apart. The floors that were renovated, they're completely breaking apart. Walls are crumbling. Um, Ceilings are falling. We have, it's just extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also the chiller that we had in there, the AC system, it was fixed, at the beginning of the year. It broke again, and we were out for a couple of months without air. We had fans, and we would do pressure checks, and it was 105 degrees with fans. So not only do we have our employees in that building, we're working in that building, and we also have prisoners who come in that same building with our employees and with the evidence and property and with records, who come in for court. So with the transfer station that we have that goes through there, so they're on the same level with some of our employees. We protect them the best that we can, and
I mean,
we
we've
have the
taken
best.
measures to secure the passageway possibly to the rest of the prison.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take, in my opinion, I think we need to take more, put more stringent measures in place. But when that chiller went down, as she's speaking of, the area that they passed through was extremely hot.
Yeah.
Now, our staff the staff wasn't exposed to that, but except for when they had to go get something or go look for something, that's when they were exposed to a little elevated temperatures that probably were borderline reasonable.
So what took them so long to fix?
Well, that was a property management thing. We went through them. We put in several requests for it to be fixed. Then they told us they had to go through, you know, different processes of getting contractors to come out to see. One part was broken, they'll fix that. Then another part breaks, and they'll fix that. And then they had different POs they had to put through. And then in the end, the clerk just pushed and said, "Hey, we need something done." And they went through this emergency PO system, and they came up with putting temporary chillers there because the amount that it was going to take to fix the chiller, that's about 90 something years old, was about $236,000 just to fix that chiller. So they put in 2 temporary chillers, and, then after they put in the chillers, we thought that we would have air, and we did, different things through the night, but it went out because the power system was too weak to hold the chillers that they put on. So then we had to get a generator the next day. And,
So I want to say she did
When did this
a
happen?
job here.
When did this happen?
when did it first
Yeah.
break?
Yeah.
I think it was
What's this month? This is July,
April almost.
yeah, about April.
Okay,
So the good
so
part
it
about
was
it, when
happening.
it first happened, it was during the spring when it's still relatively cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it progressed, then we had to get more aggressive about
Right.
asking,
Right.
you know, making requests to get something done, which still took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But they came through in the end. But again, it's going to be an ongoing issue.
Because now we have a transformer holding those 2 chillers together. And so that's what's keeping everything cool now. But we're still in the building with these transformers going on, with the chillers going on, with the rain coming in, with more evidence coming in daily, and with records. So we're just trying to see, if we can get some space for our employees, get some space for the records. I And I would say this, although we have more floors within that building, and when it rains, it does leak into certain areas within the building, the renovations that we are asking for, if we don't have the roof fixed, if we can get the floors done at least, we can hold off on some of the water that's coming in,
Mhm.
because that at least will give us some space to be able to put some of these things that are urgent at this time. And you know, the last thing that we're asking for is a building. We just need a building, if we can get a building. For staff, records, property and evidence, that would be ideal, even though we know that it would take some time for it to go through. Eventually, that would be the best thing.
So help me understand, what's the difference between evidence storage that NLPD manages versus evidence storage that you guys manage?
PD takes things off the scene. Say there's a murder,
Mhm.
they come in, they take all the evidence. Once something goes to trial, it becomes our evidence. We're responsible for that.
Okay.
So all of these things that are coming in is due to the trial.
Yeah. And when the trial is done,
We still have to keep it.
okay.
Because then you have things we work with Fourth Circuit where they have appeals and different things of that nature, so it comes back and forth between us and the courts. So like the clerk said, NOPD is like triage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's leading up to trial,
Yeah.
right? It's not just cases that get to trial. It's
Right.
all those that they're going to press charges and go.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
And the last request, I think the first time we saw that was last year. It's the first time we've seen that through this process. And I may have asked this last year, but the status of that building, I guess the last time it's used, do we know how ready this building might be for reoccupancy?
Which
Community
The
correctional
old
facility.
CCC, Community
CCC,
Correctional Center, 2800 Grafton. I know nothing about the building. I don't know if Vince's ever. It's not a project. It's not a building we've had a project in, and it may have been looked at for another, but
Yeah,
it's been abandoned.
That would solve all the problems.
Well, actually, NLPD has an evidence storage capacity issue as well.
Yes.
So
They're moving right now. Or have they moved
no.
already?
I mean, of course, they're moving. I think we gave them some space in the criminal evidence building as well, but the lion's share of their evidence is still in the Earhart building.
Still
Right. And so they are asking for, they need a new building as well. Could the two of you guys co-locate?
Could we? Theoretically, of course.
Yeah, because,
we're going to be doing it to some extent in the new building.
So the
Right.
NLPD has the evidence initially, and then when the DA takes the case, right, that's when it moves to you. So if it was co-located, there would be some synergies there.
Yeah, and if we could use CCC, that's even better because it's convenient.
Centrally located, right?
Yeah, and I just, in my mind's eye, I just don't have any recollections of floor plates, so just to.
So
12
just
floors, 3,500. I have no reason to think it's anything other than a double-loaded corridor, but I don't know. And it's one of those buildings that there's not a lot available online to see because it's been abandoned for a while. It's not like anybody's tried to lease it, those things that kick off there being plans to find. So,
No, at one time, pre-COVID, we had, and this is actually when Mayor Cantrell came in, right before she came in, we had a developer approach us asking if we were interested in, negotiating a deal to turn the building over to them. And I don't think they were talking about, affordable housing or,
right.
that
I heard about that.
Yeah, but it never materialized. But given the location of the building and the storage needs that we have, at this point, I think consider.
Exactly. It just, I don't, I'm speaking kind of off the cuff here, but I don't see where there would be an issue as long as the security measures are met to make sure that there's no cross usage or anything like that. It sounds like on the surface it's a good idea. So, yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with it just as long as, we meet the criteria.
Well, okay, so what would that be something that, should we, let's say, if we start considering CCC as an optional building to co-locate NOPD and you guys, and Ellen, I'm just going to defer to you, your expertise. Is that something that we should maybe start having conversations with NOPD and you guys to talk about how you do what you do?
There
just
could
to
be
see
a
what-
visioning session about how might this work, what do you see the issues, how do you maintain a proper, I'm not a criminal, evidence kind of person, but from an organizational standpoint, there's gotta be security of the evidence and who's got jurisdiction, because if it's located under one roof, a lot of people might cast aspersions at that, right? So what are the protocols, right? Because to protect the evidence from being tainted.
Logistically, it may be fine, but from the
worth
standpoint of jurisdiction and appearance, or security, maybe that may be a different question. So I'm open to exploring it.
It could be called early discussions because, it might be put down as a bad idea pretty soon, right? Or it might be a good one. And somebody may have knowledge of another jurisdiction where it's worked well.
Right, exactly.
Just to manage the expectations from the get-go. We're just
Right.
talking. We're talking about this. We're seeing if this is something both parties would be interested in exploring.
Right.
Well, we will certainly, like I said, just given there's a lot of discussion. So I think this is something we need to do. So, capital projects will take the lead in just pulling you guys together so that we can start having those discussions.
Because the thing that we did hear about the building is that the reason why it really became offline was due to during Katrina, all of the IT equipment and everything was at the bottom. So when it flooded, it ruined everything, and that's why the building wasn't utilized anymore. That's what we were
That would make it one of maybe 80% of the buildings in the city that had that. LSU Health Science Center had that issue. 225 Barone had that issue. Lots and lots of buildings. Civil court. And so you can walk through some of those buildings and whole areas are just vacant, right? Because they had to be moved.
Right.
And in the private sector, people came with those funds, private and medical sector probably before public service.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Not having saw the inside of the building. The issues that we heard of were the basement and what was down there, and that was lost. And I know for us, FEMA said that if you store anything on the bottom floor and it gets lost, it's on you, basically. Right. So I'm assuming that was the case, and then the money wasn't there, or whatever the case was. But that leads me to this question. In those other cases, was the equipment that was damaged that was in the basement, was it moved to a different floor? Or
that's what LSU did, LSU Health Science. Just in discussions with it, I wasn't involved in those projects, but in discussions with engineers that would cite those projects.
Right.
When we looked at the library or, where it has the same issue, they would cite those projects as the way it was done in other sectors.
Right.
Okay. So, Louise, if you could, send me the list of deficiencies on the side and the contractor side. I'd like to take a look at those.
Okay.
We'll follow up once again and just coordinate a discussion with you guys in NOPD to talk about the possibility of co-locating, storage. Let's see, what else? I'm gonna just follow up with Mo, have a conversation about, what they've done and what they're doing regarding, maintenance, the plumbing issues. So I'm just gonna follow up and get more information from Mo. And, just looking at your submission once again on the roof replacement, I would go ahead and pull your submission back to 2024, 2025. Now the renovation of the third floor, you got two line items, right? One for the fourth floor and then one for the other half of the third floor. Okay, you got that. Okay. On the third floor, why don't you go ahead and plug the design, put that in 2024 as well. Shift those over.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what happened, but I think there's a decimal place problem on the last.
Yeah.
The design is not 1% or less than 1%, it's more 10%. So we just may not have caught that. On the fourth request, it was just $15,000 for the first year. Right, so we'll adjust that.
And Ellen, just thinking about this, do we need to, this is a 5-year plan. So strategically, of course, we want to get the roof done first. Then maybe we want to do, design for the third floor in 2024, construction in 2025. We may want to leave the fourth floor design 2025, construction 2026, just kind of amortizing it.
I think the thinking was the design would be done at the same time, and you would execute the floors at different times.
Okay.
So there's a consolidated approach
Gotcha.
to the design of it.
Okay.
That.
Okay, we'll just go back and kind of revisit.
Rework it.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got. Okay, I'm making a note to send you a couple of dates and times.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if I could, Vince, tag along. I've
Okay.
never toured this building.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Feel free.
Right.
Mo could probably give you insight from the other side.
Oh, I saw him the afternoon that he visited with you all.
Yeah.
Last Friday.
It seemed
Friday the 14th.
It seemed to be an eye-opening.
Oh yeah, he
And
was.
we couldn't even bring him to everything because he's like
He was running out of time.
Oh no, it stuck with him. Let me just tell you. We talked about it that afternoon.
And just next steps for this process, just so you all know, we're wrapping up these public hearings, I guess next week. After that, we'll be making site visits. Hopefully, we'll see you all at the clerk's office, and then preparing the plan to present to the City Planning Commission on September 13th. We'll make that report publicly available the week before, so September 6th. And this plan, after the commission adopts it, is submitted to the mayor for their consideration while she's developing the capital budget.
Okay.
Okay.
You good?